Well, thank you so much. Good morning. Yeah, so today we're going to talk a little bit about, service learning and how to enhance it in your courses. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and hopefully we see enhancing student learning because I lost, there we go, there's my Zoom people. All right. Do you guys see the slides?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, because it was showing like another screen. So just making sure. Okay, great. So let's jump right into enhancing service learning. My name is Jenn Joyce. I'm service learning coordinator in the Office of Experiential Learning. And today we're going to talk about the purpose of service learning, how to connect it, um, types of service that can be embedded in courses, the support that our office and myself can give, talk about service learning versus an internship, and then the next action steps that you can take to get some service learning in your course. So the purpose, we'll start off right off the bat. We want to combine classroom learning with community service. And we want to offer that practical experience through community connection. We want to get students out of the classroom and really impacting their community, or even possibly bringing the community into the classroom. And if you're already doing things like this in your classroom, I want to celebrate what's happening. I don't want to change anything that you're doing. I want to celebrate it. I want to talk about it. I want more people to know about it, and really, celebrate what's happening in those community partnerships. So how can we connect service learning to courses? Curricular is number one, right? That's the whole point. We want to link those course objectives to service learning outcomes. We want to make sure that we're having reflection happening. Not only are we doing the things, the experiences, but we're also connecting them to learning and the community. We're reflecting on them. We're having impact in the community. And those projects that we create, those experiences that we create are benefiting local not-for-profit organizations. And obviously the relationships is most important. We want students in the community to benefit from this partnership, and we want it to keep happening. So next is the types of service that we have that we can connect to courses. Direct would obviously be those students working with the community partners. Indirect would be students providing behind the scenes support, and that could be a needs assessment. Students can be interviewing not-for-profit sites and finding out, what type of things that they need to make their organization more supported and run better. Research, we can provide some research to those organizations as well as do some event planning opportunities for them. Advocacy is another type of service. And that basically is when your projects are focusing on the community awareness, research, or even policy initiatives. Maybe they're helping with those initiatives, making those organizations run better. So what type of support can our office and myself help with? The first one being partner and project management or matching, sorry. Our office is making a lot of connections with community partners within all aspects of our office. We have community service, we have internships, as well as projects that we already have in place that are connecting with those community partners, so we can help with the matching aspect. Syllabus support is another one, so we can help design those service learning components within your course syllabi. And we want to make sure that we have clear objectives and the community partnerships align with the process that we're trying to make happen. And then reflection guidance. So when we talked, previously about, making sure that we're connecting the projects and experiences with the learning, we can help with those, creating reflections that are really matching up with those learning assessments and, even helping create, rubrics and things like that for reflections. So we hear a lot about internships and how that is some great experience that students can get. But we're waiting till our junior year, right? Because we need to have junior status to get those internships. But how do we do this before? So obviously service learning and internships are both academic opportunities. Internships are focusing on gaining that professional experience and job training. But service learning, we're emphasizing on applying the classroom learning to addressing community needs throughout meaningful service projects. Service learning is not paid. And also service learning can start as soon as students step foot on campus, which is very exciting. So some action steps that we can take to get service learning connected to courses is obviously you're connecting with me. So by either being live today or viewing this at a later time, you've already done step one. So learning what service learning is all about, and then just reaching out and asking more questions and having those conversations. We definitely want to be integrating service learning into course structure. That can be really on a very simple level or more complex, depending on how integrated these projects are. We want to collaborate with community partners. So if you are already having those connections, like I said, I just want to celebrate it. I want to talk about it. I want to enhance it. I want to, know what's going on so we can really make it a great experience. And then, really, talking about the results that are coming out of these projects and these connections. And really celebrating them. And obviously, we have some, reports we just finished, with our Carnegie classification. So we want to make sure that we're knowing about all these things so they can get highlighted in our next round of reporting. And that was a little fast. I think I talked a little bit too quickly, but that is okay. So my information to connect with me, my email address, jennifer.joyce@oswego.edu, my extension 3812. And I really look forward to connecting, having more conversations about service learning with courses. And yeah, I don't know if there's any questions that anyone has.
So Jen, you talked about having a connection with various community groups. Is that one of the things you do? Is if I have a course that really begs for the service learning component, you'd be the person to contact for seeing what in the community would fit with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of different levels. There's, I really want service learning in my course, but I don't know how to get started. Let's talk about some ideas, and then making the connections with community partners, or we have a lot of those connections already made. So it's like you have this amazing idea, and it's like, yes, we actually have a community partner that's looking for something like this, and we can make that connection and really create some amazing projects and experiences out of that.
Okay, great.
So Jen, just a couple of questions. So in my department, we have a couple of courses that do similar kind of things, but we haven't kind of gone through you. So I'm wondering, like for example, we have a course that runs our 470 implementation, and they kind of partner with Bishop Commons, and the students implement health programs for the older adults. And I know that colleague of mine has had difficulty in regards to the research aspect of it with IRB and those types of things. I don't know if there's some collaboration there with you and Excel on that, or also like my 448, we've partnered with RMM for some things where the students have created some programs. So I'm wondering if there's ways to collaborate with you and kind of enhance those experiences. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, and I know just attending some other, sessions and stuff, Jessica, where I've even on LinkedIn where I read about your a lot of your project-based learning.
Yeah,
Um, those connections you already have are amazing, right? So we want to make sure that we're really getting everything we can out of the project. So obviously you're having your rubrics for grading, which is amazing. And I like using the word amazing, but that's okay. Um, but it's reflection piece. Can we dig a little deeper with connecting the students to not just like, okay, this is part of the class, it's on the syllabus, I have to do it, but really like digging in deep about how are they feeling about it, what impact are they making, and maybe they make a connection with this is something I want to do into the future, you know.
right.
But if you already have it happening, those are conversations where I want to know about it. Like I want to
Yeah.
celebrate it. I want to, make sure that the students are getting everything they can out of it.
Mhm.
You guys have put such hard work into creating those experiences. By no means do I want to be changing them, but I just want to make
Right.
sure that, we know about it and, great things are happening.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, because I know also Sandy Barganier, her refugee wellness class, just did a big type of service learning too. So yeah, we definitely will reach out and kind of collab on those two. And I'm sure there's other colleagues of mine in the department that would like to kind of tap into those types of things, especially in our field. We're very much wanting the hands-on experiences for students so they can see the application. Um, so
Absolutely. And I mean, I teach some courses, specifically my one GST 303, which is leadership in your field. Students pick a 60-hour community-based project where they go out into the community, they do a needs assessment, and then once having an interview with those organizations, they then come up with a project. And I've actually had a student that was not at the same site, but was also working with refugees at another site, and they crossed paths with students from Sandy's class.
oh great.
So then they were emailing me and they're like, "Oh, did you know about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, I do." And I'm so glad that you're able to benefit the same students, but within a different capacity. They were helping with like a math tutoring type of setting. So things like that, and having the students connect with each other, and then my student was having some amazing conversations with other students about the work that they're doing. And then my student was like, oh, well, I'm gonna, they're doing, something with their students, and I want to do something with them. And I said, you totally can, you just have to, make sure that if you want to help volunteer and stuff. So they were able to enhance their experience that way. And it was just amazing that, they were able to cross paths and have those connections and kind of realized that they were like a small piece of a bigger project, which was
Right,
kind of nice.
right. And I have one last question too, sorry. So also I think we've had a hard time like kind of tapping into different practices in kind of maybe the medical fields or things like that. Is there some opportunity? I don't know if you guys already have some partnerships or something like that where students maybe could be doing some service learning in different areas in Oswego. I know students have done internships with OCO. It doesn't have to actually be like the hospital, but like areas where they can implement some health and wellness programs.
Yeah, so there's a lot, the medical field kind of gets tough because
Yeah.
the profit, right? But there are some amazing organizations within Oswego and Oswego County that support a lot of the service, and really they help the community members actually get the information to receive those services. So, with OCO, definitely they have a lot of different branches. There's integrative community, partners, ICP, that they have a lot of branches too that connect, like Help Me Grow. So they have community members that come in and they have a database of all the resources that children 3 and under can, start getting these services ahead of time, and it really connects the parents. So maybe it might not be directly related to like the medical field, but if you're working with an organization that connects community members,
Mhm.
those resources, um, that definitely is a piece that I don't think it's tapped into a little bit, but not a lot. So there's different ways that that you can connect service learning. Also with maybe I know there's some classes that work on PR projects for
Mhm.
companies that may not be able to afford it, right? So we're
Right.
having students help out with these strategies because maybe community members don't know about it, and that's not a good thing because how are you want to provide this resource. I'm digging in a little deep, but that's just an example.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So how would you describe the specific difference to a community organization, the differences between the internship and the service learning? I actually do some work with the Children's Museum,
Mhm.
and the director is she's been at it several months, but she's relatively new. And if I can add some suggestions about support, things of this sort. Um, and she said, well, we already do internships. Uh, what advantages are there to me in service learning? What would you say to her?
Mhm.
That is a great question. So really the advantages is you open yourself up to having more student support. So you don't have to wait for a student to be that junior, senior standing for internship. So you can get freshmen, sophomores that are gaining the experience now. I see Michelle in the chat doing growing the talent. So you're getting freshmen and sophomores in the building that are getting an interest in the work. They're learning about the community. They're learning about the kids that come into the building and why is CMU there, right? And
Right.
and CMU's not just a museum. They do so much more in the community, right? They're at the farmers market and stuff like that. So yes, you may have an intern, right? And you're going to have them 10 hours a week. But now you have students coming in and doing some community service, more students, more hours available, not just to the 10 for the internship. And you have students that are going to continue, right? They might start their freshman year and they want to volunteer their sophomore year. Now it's like, okay, they're a junior. Maybe now I'll do the internship. I'll dig a little bit deeper, but that continued support and more resources. You're going to have students available more hours. I think that's the biggest piece right there.
Okay, yeah, you touched upon the continuation part. We've had actually it's almost unfortunate, but we've had individuals. We have human development two internship requirements, and we kind of back off from our requirement that they be different internships because students will start out at the Children's Museum and then want to continue for their second internship. And so we've decided to, well, basically bend our own rules. Are there any restrictions? What you were saying was like starting out with service learning and then turning it into an internship. Are there any restrictions in place, or how do you see that?
So obviously for internship, for service learning and internship, they would have to be, enrolled in a class. But so, I know that I think I saw Michelle write something in the chat. Oh, so, if they're volunteering or service learning with another class, freshman and sophomore year, and then they start that internship junior year. Michelle put it it's perfect. Like they hit the ground running. They already know about the organization. They don't have to take the time kind of learning about what CMU is all about. But when you were talking about like they want to do the same, um, internship that next time. Um, I would say the only, not necessarily restriction, but making sure that it's an enhanced experience. So you don't want them doing the same thing 2 semesters in a row. So how do you enhance that second year of internship if it's at the same site to make it a growing experience? So maybe
Exactly.
maybe now it's like, I'm working on a specific project. If they're continuing a project, then how do they enhance it to that next level? And I see Michelle in the chat too, talking about not double dipping. So sometimes when we have our service projects, we make sure if students are taking internships, say like that same semester, we want to make sure that they actually are at separate sites, because it does get very confusing to do an internship as well as, you know, service learning, community service at the same site, because even though they can tell us, the students will say, no, I can separate it. I know exactly what I'm doing. It's going to be separated. The line just gets sticky. And we do want students to be able to gain, you know, experience at different places. So we really let them know that they need to be in separate, you know, separate spots for their service. So that way there's no overlapping and it doesn't get too complicated.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome.
Great. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.